All right, we're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. It is 5 o'clock, February 3rd. Welcome to the Land Use and Zoning Committee meeting. We're going to go ahead and start with introductions to the left.
All right, Kevin Carrico, District 4, visiting.
Reginald Gaffney Jr., District 8.
Rory Diamond, District 13, The Beaches.
Joe Carlucci, District 5.
Terrence Freeman at large, Group 1.
Randy White, District 12.
Dylan Reingold, Office of General Counsel.
Susan Kelly, Planning Department.
Aaron Abney, Planning Department.
Casey Cox, Planning Department.
All right.
Rockman Johnson, District 14.
There he is. All right. Thank you for joining us. So we have a few introductions. I want to first introduce our pages tonight. We've got Jamari Broach and Javen Broach. Go ahead and stand up, gentlemen. Woohoo! You guys, all right, sit down. No. All right, you guys picked the fun job to be pages at the LUZ committee. So thank you guys for coming and serving. We appreciate it. Hopefully we'll put you to work here. We also want to recognize Atlantic Beach Commissioner Jessica Ring is with us today. Thank you for being here. Our neighbor city county-ish commission over on Atlantic Beach. So with that, we've got a few speaker cards. We're going to go into the first agenda item. Oh, Mr. Reingold, can you go ahead and read to us our standard order and procedures for this evening? Thank you.
Thank you very much to the chair, to the LUZ committee, and to the audience as a whole. Good evening, everybody. Just want to cover a couple ground rules for the LUZ committee meeting tonight. First, please note clapping or cheering on any of the matters before us tonight. Second, during the public hearing portion of the agenda item, you will have 3 minutes, so presentations must be focused and concise and should only address the item before us. If a speaker is repetitive or gets off topic, the speaker may be given a warning. If after a warning a speaker is still repetitive and still does not stay on topic, we may cut the speaker off. Finally, all quasi-judicial decisions before us tonight must be based upon substantial competent evidence, which means the decision must be supported by fact-based testimony or expert testimony, but not generalized concerns or opinions. And with that, I turn it back over to the chair.
All right, thank you for that, Mr. Reingold. So, item number 1, 2025-487, we're going to go ahead and open the public hearing and get a staff report.
Thank you. Ordinance 2025-487 is for a small-scale land use amendment on Beach Boulevard at Cortez Road. This application was amended and re-referred by the City Council on December 9th, 2025. The originally submitted request was to change 0.91 of an acre from LDR and CGC to LI, light industrial, and 1.38 acres from LDR to CGC for a total of 2.29 acres. The amended land use proposal is to change 1.81 acres from LDR to CGC, removing the LI portion of the originally submitted land use amendment application. The entire parcel is approximately 6.84 acres and has a split land use designation of CGC and LDR. The applicant seeks to expand the existing shopping center, resulting in the requested land use amendment. The property fronts Beach Boulevard, which is a major commercial corridor, and State Road. CGC is the primary land use designation along the Beach Boulevard corridor. The site has access to both a collector road, Cortez Road, and an FDOT principal arterial road, which is Beach. These are the preferred roadway classifications for the CGC land use category. The site is served by full urban services, including centralized water and sewer connections, and the JTA Bus Rapid Transit service. The proposed land use amendment to CGC would be complementary to existing commercial uses along the Beach Boulevard corridor. For these reasons and those in the staff report, the Planning Department recommends approval. The Planning Commission heard this item on January 22nd. Several members of the public expressed opposition, and one person was in support. The commissioners discussed the item, ultimately deciding that the amended land use change appears to be a straightforward commercial expansion. Planning Commission approved the item unanimously with a vote of 7-0. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. First, we will go to our applicant, Ms. Cindy Trimmer, and then we will give you 3 minutes at the end for rebuttal.
Thank you so much. Cindy Trimmer, 1 Independent Drive, Suite 1200 on behalf of the applicant. I'm going to be brief on the land use amendment because we went through this for 3 hours the last time it was before you, where the body amended this application from CGC and light industrial to just CGC. What you have in front of you tonight is an application to unify this parcel under commercial land use that is completely consistent with what is in this surrounding area, which is a mix of commercial, industrial, business park, and residential. The commercial that you have in front of you does not extend any further back into the community than the business park and industrial that is immediately west of the property. We showed you the map last time to show all of the uses that are around this. There were comments at the Planning Commission that referred back to the agreement that the councilman had asked several folks to make on the record at the last hearing, that if we unified the property under commercial and abandoned industrial, that would satisfy the request and that this could move forward. Some folks learned that the owner purchased a piece of property that is immediately north of their property, and they were concerned that he did this with the intent of further rezoning and moving the commercial north into the neighborhood. I stated on the record there at Planning Commission and state again tonight before you, that property is not being rezoned. It is not part of the applications in front of you. There is no intent to use that property for commercial. They can use it for stormwater retention and to build a residential property fronting Cortez. That's the only plan for that property. It is not to kind of circumnavigate this body or to further down the road come back and keep asking for additional commercial. So with that, I will pause and let anybody else that has concerns speak and then look forward to addressing any additional comments.
All right. Mr. Reingold.
Through the chair to the applicant, I just have one question. There were some documents that were being handed out. Are these for the zoning item or are these for the land use item? Or are they for both?
Through the chair, they are for the land use item, although I would note that there are letters of support that we have passed out. So there are 3 residential properties that are the most affected. There's one that directly abuts, and then there are 2 across the street, and you have in your hands letters of support for the proposed commercial use from those most affected owners.
All right. First speaker card, Kathleen Pereira.
My name is Kathleen Pereira. My information is on file. I don't know which one of these is working. The original objective for the creation of this bill has been dropped, and any plans the applicant might have for further development are allowed in the property's current CGC zoning. In addition, the current LDR parcels will serve as good buffers from the neighborhood. This is especially crucial since the applicant now owns all the land, we just heard that, surrounding the first homeowner of the neighborhood, which again, even though it's been attested, is still concerned that they may try to change that from LDR to CGC in the future. This would directly violate the property rights element policy 1.12.2 section 4, the right of a property owner to dispose of his or her property through sale or gift. This neighborhood was established many years before any commercial development and should not be expected to accept piecemeal encroachment. And the city cannot expect any neighborhood to hire EPA experts, traffic and civic engineers, and even lawyers to gather facts and figures about each and every ordinance that will affect them. I would hope that this is not the case, nor that the city really just expects all neighborhoods to be compliant with any development. Even though questions about this development have been answered, they have not been in writing, which guarantees nothing. And yet there must be a balance in property rights. The applicant has a right to develop their land as long as it does not encroach upon the neighborhood. Therefore, the best scenario is for this property to continue with the current zoning so that all parties' rights are upheld. And how can you be really informed to vote today when you just got the update today? Thank you, and please vote down or withdraw this ordinance. Thank you.
All right, next speaker we have is Carla Looney. You can just set them right there, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Carla Looney, and my information's on file, but I am a Cortez Road resident. At previous meetings, we had tried to get an amend or a new copy of the site of the plans for Apna's expansion. After a couple of tries, we finally got them, in which I've given you a copy of them. And if you look at these drawings, it's the same exact one that was part of the packet that was handed out at the community center months ago. And looking at that site drawing, we see that there still appears to be a semi-truck bay on the north end of the original slaughterhouse building. To access that location, a truck would have to drive or back through customer parking lot between rows of parked cars with customers and children. This is clearly an unacceptable danger. If we assume that the engineer was not really proposing having trucks maneuvering among those customers, then what appears to be a turnaround slab north of the truck bay may really be a driveway connected to some not yet revealed access road. Currently, there are approximately 50 parking places that can easily access Cortez Road. This expansion initially adds 250 more spaces that would primarily be accessed from Cortez. This is a 6-time increase of parking spaces, and the proposed rules allow an unlimited number of additional spaces. Cortez Road already has too much traffic for such a narrow little road, and especially at the traffic light at Beach Boulevard. Proposing a 6-time increase or much more is just ridiculous. If this project ever proceeds, on the same plane would be for APNA to provide a median cut and eastbound left turn lane into the Beach Boulevard access of their property. The Cortez access should be closed, and any plan to connect APNA Boulevard to Cortez Road be permanently prohibited. Unlimited parking is allowed in the proposed plan. All parking is allowed to be imperviously paved. Where is the drainage plan? How can trash and pollution be prevented from running off into the wetlands and the adjoining neighbor's property? The 35-foot height limit of the proposed building next to the Robinson residence. Thank you for your time. And please look over the handout. It's got more information than this.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Next, we have Jessica Ring.
Good evening, city officials. My name is Jessica Ring, and I serve as a city commissioner in Atlantic Beach. But tonight I come to speak in opposition of the zoning change to CGC, permitting butchering and live animal processing and commercial uses. My parents live on Cortez Road, along with dozens of other families, a community church, and a beloved community charter school serving K through 12 grades. Council people, do you know what the stipulations are behind what you will approve tonight? Have you thought about the consequences of the neighbors and the residents that are there? This neighborhood has been zone rural, and the residents have been able to keep livestock for decades, but that's with limitations. Have you looked into all the details regarding what you are approving tonight? Where are they holding the live animals? What kind of live animals? Where will the carcasses leave, and how will they leave the premises? How far will this distribution span? Will it be regional? Will it be local? Will it be national? all coming and going on a 2-lane road of Cortez Road. I would disagree with the applicant that this is not complimentary of the area of Cortez Road, nor is it consistent with the residents and all that they have endured over the past decade since living there. Please seriously consider opposing these two zoning changes tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Reingold, yeah, go ahead.
Thank you to the chair, to the LUZ committee, and to the audience. Please understand, as proposed with the amended written description, the live animal processing and butchering aspect of this is completely gone. So I just want to make sure if anyone else is concerned about that or wants to speak on that issue, that is being removed. And with that, I turn it back over to the chair.
Okay. Thank you for that, Mr. Reingold. Next, we have Kirsten Brewer, followed by George Cheshire, and then David Wesley and Richard Grant.
Hi, my name is Kirsten Brewer, and my address is on file. And so we supported the applicant when we found out that the light industrial would be removed. There's still so many questions that we have. We did request a meeting, but once it was known that more than 3 neighbors wanted to show up, it was canceled. I've noticed that in the agenda that light industrial has been removed from this. I believe Mr. Carlucci did ask twice for the wording to be removed on the 488. And of course, it's still there, which is still creating a lot of confusion. So I'm going to speak more on the zoning once that comes up. We have many questions. There's still questions about traffic. When the City Council actually voted on November 18th, I believe it was the very next day, there was an accident on Cortez Road where a pedestrian was hit. This is a common occurrence. And we will provide more information on that. But this is a very dangerous intersection. We do not need semis at all. I actually presented competent substantial evidence a while back ago of the turning radius and everything that's needed. So these are still issues. We, as we said, wanted a meeting. We didn't get the meeting. Therefore, we just request that the zoning be denied and that the applicant be allowed to develop like he wants to develop when he purchased the property under whatever conditions he's able. We want to keep the residential buffer to protect the integrity of our neighborhood and to also mitigate any more traffic issues that we've already gotten that have been documented. Thank you.
Okay, next we have George Cheshire.
Good evening. My name is George Cheshire. I live at 2929 Cortez Road. I've lived there since about 2000. When I was looking through the CGC permitted actions and the thing, item number 16 caught my eye, where it says use of dewatering pumps to lower the water table. To me, that seems like a dangerous precedent because you start lowering the water table. A lot of the water sources in Florida throughout the state are in limestone caverns, underwater rivers, limestone, and all this. You start messing with that too much, and then all of a sudden you start getting sinkholes, and then people start wondering where the sinkholes are coming from. So what we're looking at on that is that with the ability to dewater, yes, we want them to be able to dewater, especially if we have a tropical storm, hurricane, something like that come through, but we would not like to see them restricted on the ability to lower the water table. There are plenty of people around that area who are on private wells. This is our source of water. If you start lowering the water table, you also start increasing the chances of contaminants and injuring people through contaminated water, this type of stuff. What I would like to see is an amendment saying that, unless it is approved separately, that they cannot use the dewatering pumps to lower the water table. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate it.
All right, next we have David Wesley.
Good evening. My name's Dave Wesley. I live at 2507 Cortez Road. You're getting some pictures of the traffic issues, including the intersection of Cortez Road and Beach Boulevard. Some of these pictures you have seen before. They have been handed to you. But they're here to remind you and not to be overlooked. This is going to create an overwhelming mass headache for all traffic flow. Semi-trucks wanting to enter onto Cortez Road off of Beach Boulevard Road, especially if heading west from 9A 295. You'll see in a picture there, it's absolutely impossible for a tractor trailer to make that turn without taking up the whole left turn lane of Cortez Road. And then trying to immediately turn left into the entrance of the property that's wanting to rezone. That portion of Cortez Road is 23 feet wide. You got a semi-tractor trailer trying to maneuver to get into that. You'll see pictures. So the same goes, it's trying to leave, the semi-truck trying to leave this property and turning south onto Cortez Road to go to beach. A semi-truck trailer, it's just going to be impossible. He's going to maneuver both lanes, oncoming, turning lanes, everything. So that leads to Cortez Road North. When they grab hold that they can turn left and go up Cortez Road for a mile and get to Alden, turn right, and then be at St. John's Bluff. So over a period of time, this is going to catch on, and this is where our overload of traffic is going to be. That portion of Cortez Road is 19 feet wide. So visualize tractor trailer trying to maneuver up that road with oncoming traffic. Also, customers will realize, hey, we can turn north on Cortez Road, shoot up to Alden, and get to St. John's Bluff. So we already have a 19-foot wide road with speed tables to accommodate the traffic we had before. And it's 19 feet wide. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next we have Richard Grant. Don't wish to speak? Okay. In opposition? Next we have John Chimintz? Do you wish to speak? All right, come on down. Sorry if I messed up the last name. Oh, don't wish to speak? Okay. He is in opposition. We have Michelle Oliveri. Okay, you're here. Do you wish to speak? Nope, don't wish to speak. Okay, in opposition. Lisa Ellen Dernberger. Come on down. Followed by John Troy Trenick.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Ellen Dernberger. My address is on file. I stand before you to oppose ordinance number 2025-0487, a fundamentally inappropriate and disconcerting transformation of land use. First, the proposal runs directly counter to the city's own 2045 comprehensive plan. Under that plan, our land use categories are deliberately tiered. CGC supports commercial activity, serving neighborhood and community needs. LDR supports residential character. Even though the LI has been removed, the component bill has been removed. Page 12 of the staff report states that the wetlands will be eliminated. This is not a minimal impact. The comprehensive plan explicitly calls for gradual transition in densities and intensities through development review. The proposed redesignation fails to respect that carefully balanced intent. Second, the developer's justification for the land use change rested heavily on the activity of live animal processing. Since that, yet the rezoning bill 2025-488 appear to be amending out that very use, or have amended out that very use. Removing the live processing component destroys the fundamental public purpose that motivated this land use change to begin with. Without it, what remains is encroachment grafted onto residential and commercial land, with no real public benefit to and no alignment with the comprehensive plan goals to protect residential neighborhoods. You have before you Winn-Dixie, Latte Market, and Aldi. They sell halal meat, and the distance between the residential and the commercial is extensive, over 12,000 or 1,200 feet. Finally, this small-scale amendment sets an alarming precedent, using PUDs as a backdoor to convert residential or community-focused land, circumventing long-standing zoning and undermining community trust. The comprehensive plan is a contract between the city government and its residents. We should not allow it to be rewritten to favor a specific property owner's agenda, especially when that will potentially open code compliance enforcement issues for the actual use of the property once the change is made. I urge you to deny the ordinance change, and I want this on record. Florida case law generally prohibits contract zoning, quote unquote, where a local government enters into a bilateral agreement with a property owner to achieve a result that might not be in the public interest or is an attempt to circumvent standard zoning procedures. Kim Robinson originally wanted neighbors. Keep the residential. Thank you.
All right, next we have John Troy Trenick. All right. Is in opposition. And then we have Jessica Schumacher. Go ahead, ma'am.
Go ahead.
You can start. You can start our clock back over.
Sorry, Jessica Schumacher. Address is on file. I'm really confused. I continue to stay confused throughout this whole process, and I believe that's the intent. We have more questions than we do answers, and I'm wondering, is it even legal to be having this meeting today? I ask that because of the competent, substantial evidence before you in the packet showing nothing is lining up still. First page shows the removal of light industrial on the agenda. It was amended. Yet on the second page in your packet, posted signage that is there today still displays CGC and LPR, should be LDR, that's not even correct, to CGC and LI. So it is still publicly presented to be light industrial. Okay, I'm urging you to vote no, please.
Okay, next we have Ron Armstrong. Okay, in opposition, does not wish to speak. Next we have Shannon Blair. All right, don't wish to speak, is in opposite. Oh, okay.
Can you start my clock over, please?
Sure.
Thank you, Chair and members of Land Use and Zoning. My name is Shannon Blair. My address is on record. I want to focus on the most significant issues that I see with 0487 and why it should not move forward. So first, this ordinance permanently converts residential land to commercial land use. About 1.81 acres currently designated low-density residential are being changed to community general commercial. It's not temporary, obviously you know that. It's a lasting policy change, and once it's changed, the residential protections are completely gone, regardless of what happens at later zoning. So that kind of permanent shift will fundamentally change the character and the long-term expectations of the surrounding residential area. Second, the amendment pushes commercial activity closer to established homes. It allows intensive uses, retail, services, warehouse activity, high-traffic commercial operations, and they're now being allowed immediately adjacent to RLD 60 single-family neighborhoods to the north, yet there's no enhanced transition standards at the land use level. There are no stronger buffers, no step-down intensity, no limits on the types of commercial uses that I see. Compatibility is being claimed, but it's not being enforced. Third, the traffic impacts are identified, but they're not really addressed. The amendment itself acknowledges approximately 1,400 additional daily vehicle trips, and Beach Boulevard is already operating beyond its capacity, yet the ordinance doesn't require traffic improvements before or as a condition of approval, which is odd. So instead, those impacts are going to be deferred, I guess, to future coordination. So this allows for intensification along a failing corridor without ensuring the infrastructure can handle it. Fourth, the wetlands are identified for elimination without safeguards. There's approximately a half an acre of wetlands. They're classified Category 3, and they provide environmental and hydrological functions. The ordinance acknowledges that they'll be eliminated, but there's no environmental resource permit, no mitigation plan, no sequencing requirement tied to approval. The land use policy is being approved before environmental compliance is secured, which I would think puts the city at risk, if I'm not mistaken. Fifth, the public opposition is documented over and over and over again, but it doesn't seem to be meaningfully addressed, in my opinion. I, for one, came and made a public comment at a city council meeting asking for things that happened with a member that's on land use and zoning as well, and I didn't receive a single email back from anyone except for one automated response from the Inspector General, and nothing since then. And the transparency and the lies that are allowed to be told, they didn't even have their permit valid when they stated at a city council meeting that it was. It was not in effect. A false permit was produced by one of the people up here.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, the following speakers do not wish to speak but are in opposition. Seaborn O'Quinn, Margaret Latimer, Rebecca Moran, Brandon Schumacher, John Scott, Rachel Landon, John Brewer, Scott Landon, Isabel O'Quinn, Tyler Ring, Kim Oliveri, Sean Francis, Lisa Francis. Okay, the other speaker cards that just came in that do not wish to speak but are in opposition are Shirley Russian, Pamela Barker, Richard Hughes, James Ogburn, and last speaker card before we go to the applicant for rebuttal is Carolyn Hughes.
The little packet that I received, that I'm giving to you is a letter that I sent to Ms. Trimmer expressing my concerns. I did not.
Can you state your name and address?
Reply. Oh, my name is Carolyn Hughes, address on file. I did not, Ms. Trimmer did reply to me, but there was legalese at the bottom, and I didn't feel like I could give you a copy of it. The next one is questions that you should ask yourself before you vote for approval. And the last one is a letter considering the traffic and a PUD at that area. The questions that you should ask yourself is, going back to the November 25 City Council meeting, One, if as stated at the council meeting the last week of November in 2025, the applicant is just building a strip mall, why does he need two humongous buildings? Two, if as stated at the city council, he only needed a 9,000 square foot building, why is he asking for two buildings, one being 23,800 and the other 30,000 square feet? If, as stated at the city council, he can do what he wants on the existing zoning, why are we being asked to give a bigger zoning, more than he needs? If, as stated at the city council, he does not need a PUD, why is it now being asked for? And a change from CGC to CGC2. Lastly, why is it not encroachment when a company buys the land on either side of a resident as well as the land behind them? This land was purchased by a company, not an individual. Companies do what they want, change things when needed. It was stated that the applicant might place sheds for storage on the land butted up to the behind Ms. Robinson. I don't know why he would need more storage. And does that not indicate that there is some overlap between that property, newly purchased, and the existing property? The applicant asked for almost 60,000 square feet of storage in terms of buildings, so he doesn't need sheds. The company can do what they want and change things when needed. It is stated the applicant might place sheds in that land, as I just said. But when someone says those properties are not now connected, again, sorry, thank you.
That's okay. Thank you, ma'am. Next speaker is Cynthia Jedlicka. Are you here? All right. You are in opposition. I guess you do not wish to speak. We have Cynthia Pittman is in opposition, does not wish to speak. And then Jonna Pittman is in opposition, does not wish to speak. And with that, we have no other public speaker cards, and we will let the applicant have 3 minutes for rebuttal.
Thank you so much, Cindy Trimmer, 1 Independent Drive. I don't think that we've heard anything new here that we haven't fully vetted at prior hearings, so I will stand by for specific questions and rely on the staff report and the planning department's finding that this is not residential intrusion. They have vetted the land use, they have vetted the traffic, they have vetted all of the things appropriate at this stage. There are concerns that folks have that are going to be addressed as we go through the permitting process when the teams, professionals, and engineers work with the city's engineers on civil and traffic and all of those other matters that are not appropriate for us to litigate here tonight. So with that, I will stand by for questions.
Okay. With that, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back to committee. Need a motion and a second on the bill? All right, motion and second on the bill. Thank you, committee. With that, we'll go to Mr. Council President Carrico first. If you'd like to go first, or you can go last.
Oh, no, I'll go first. Thank you
right.
for recognizing me. Thank you for having me here. And thanks to the district for showing up, to the citizens that came here to speak, that have been here time and time again, that showed up to Planning Commission, that have come to the community meetings. Your voices are heard by me. I consider this a win as we get started because, the slaughterhouse is already out, right? That was the biggest concern. And, I think we likely had this whole bill dead in the water back when it was in front of council in November, but a lot of people raised concerns that they were still unsure of what the new application was with the slaughterhouse removed. So we sent it back and had some more conversations and had some time, and it's back. So I'm happy that the slaughterhouse is out, but I still have concerns about the bill. I still have concerns about the Beach Boulevard corridor and the safety of the citizens. We are the leading pedestrian death city in the state of Florida and number 3rd in the nation, 3rd in the whole country And this is my district. I ride Beach Boulevard, and I see the car accidents. I see, actually saw with my own eyes with my 6-year-old daughter in the back, somebody who got hit on a bicycle, and they had a sheet laid over them on Beach Boulevard. It was one of the scariest things. I have to talk to her when she was asking me those tough questions. So Cortez Boulevard, I know it very well. You know, we put speed bumps on there because we had a lot of issues with Cortez, with people cutting through there. Not everybody loved the speed bumps, but the majority of the people at the community meeting we had did agree that it would be a safer thing for the district. So I went ahead, we put those speed bumps in. And now to see this expansion, it's just piling on Beach Boulevard. There's so many commercial, sections there. And if this was in a big plaza like the Winn-Dixie or something like that, where those trucks could get in and out a little safer, I might be able to support it. But I just due to the increased traffic and the voices of the citizens, I'm not going to be able to still support it in this capacity. So I just wanted to put that on the record and leave it up to the committee. But that's where I stand. You see the people who came out, and I'm with them. So I'll be a no, and I do have a vote as the president on this, so I will be voting no. Thanks.
All right, Councilmember Diamond, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to go through the chair to Dylan. Just for the folks who are here, just can we reconfirm that for the millionth time, but that the slaughterhouse is out of this and it's impermissible?
Through the chair to Councilmember Diamond, the written description as presented tonight in the zoning will not allow for a slaughterhouse facility.
Okay. And so, look, I'm going to vote no tonight. For the same reasons the council president said no. I voted no all along on this one. But for those who that was their main concern, it was taken out. Thank you.
All right, Councilman Gaffney, you're recognized.
Thank you, through the chair. The community brought up a lot of valid concerns. I guess this question is to the planning department. I think you guys approved this as a yes, correct? I just want you guys to expound and elaborate. Why did y'all approve this legislation? I recommend that we approve it.
Excuse me. Yes, through the chair to Councilman Gaffney, we found that the portion of, for one, this is Beach Boulevard. It's a state road. We're all familiar with it. Lots of diverse uses on it. The parcel is all under common ownership. It's one parcel. It just has this split designation. So that's another reason. It has centralized water sewer. It's on a JTA BRT route. So again, another reason for commercial uses. Also, if you look at the land uses along that north side of Beach Boulevard, you will see that there is a CGC land use across from this site, this area, on Cortez Road. It's the Suburban Extended Hotel, I think it's a hotel. And that CGC actually extends a little bit further into that neighborhood along Cortez. So when we're looking at a map, we see that CGC line is pretty consistent across, and then to the west, the CGC comes back even further. So again, that's part of what we look at is how far back does this stuff go. The other thing is we want to consider and keep in mind that it's not being used, it's not going to necessarily be used as LDR, low density residential, as single family housing. And as a result, the property owner can not necessarily use it. There's about, in terms of the land use, there's about, was that about 30 feet? I don't remember what that was. 25 feet that fronts Cortez Road. That's the land use. The land use is not for the portion that is CGC. This is for the land use. It's got 24 feet of frontage along Cortez Road. And then it goes up and back into the west. So that's some of the reasons.
Thank you, through the chair. I appreciate that response. One other question. The council person that's over the Council President Carrico, he stated traffic amongst safety as issues while he was, I guess, be opposed to this particular legislation. Did you guys consider that and going into the making this recommendation?
Yes, sir. Through the chair, we absolutely did. We always get a review by our transportation planning division, and I think they're here to speak on that too if you have any direct transportation questions. But yeah, our memo, I'm trying to pull it up, so give me a second. But here it is. Yeah, so ours looks at the number of trips that could be generated by this particular acreage going into commercial, which is obviously going to be more than if this were low-density residential. So that's one of the things we look for is sort of the number of trips. And then I believe the rezoning, I think they get a capacity memo in terms of that for the rezoning. And again, like I mentioned, I think we have transportation here if you have a question for them.
No, I think I'm good. All right, thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. So we have no other speakers in the queue. I'm going to just weigh in and just ask this one question just for clarification because it's been a while. So and this is, I guess, to OGC or planning, when this was at council, what amendment did we move and pass on the land use?
To the chair, and the planning department can certainly weigh in on this. With 487 amended, the original request was a portion of the property was going to go from, I think it was LDR to CGC, and a portion of the property was going to go from CGC to LI. You no longer have the portion of the property going to light industrial. You just have a portion of the property going from LDR to CGC. Okay.
Yeah. And so for me, that was the comfort point the whole time as far as the land use goes. There's other things that we can talk about on the zoning, but as far as the land use, I feel like there was a commitment and there was a conversation that we had at council where it was very much clear that, hey, if we remove this is a more comfortable position. That got me to a comfortable position. I think that is what ultimately was kind of the sticking point. So I don't have any issues at this point with the land use, so I'll be supporting it. And Councilmember Freeman, if you're in the queue, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for adding value to it. Through the chair to Mr. Reingold, I guess the one question I always ask, and I try to look at it through the legal lens, depending on how this vote goes tonight, either side could potentially have an opportunity to file a lawsuit or whatever course may be for appeals. Based on what we've heard over I've been on LUZ just this year, what we've heard over these last these recent meetings, where is your confidence that the competent substantial evidence on our side from information that's been shared, and I shouldn't say on our side, but where are you on that? If we were to vote in the affirmative, where are you on that? And
through the chair to Councilmember Freeman. So this is the land use item. So the competent substantial evidence standard doesn't come into play on this one. What it comes into play on this one is a fairly debatable standard, which is a very broad latitude for the council and the LUZ committee to consider.
May I, Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And so I use those terms because we continue to hear those, and I'm pretty sure that you yourself and the chair would oftentimes, after their speaker, use those terms, reminding that that does not apply to this. I want to make sure that I'm on the record clarifying that because I've heard it enough, and I oftentimes like to reinforce the facts behind that. So I'm in the same position as our chair right now when it comes to this issue, and we look forward to as the conversation moves forward. Thank you.
All right. With that, we have no other speakers in the queue. Open the ballot. Record your vote.
5 yeas, 2 nays.
By your action, you've approved 2025-487. Item number 2, 2025-488. Council members, please declare any ex parte communication you have at this time on 488. There we go. Councilmember Gaffney, you're recognized.
Thank you. Through the chair, I rise to declare ex parte. My office received numerous emails opposing this legislation. I'll make sure everything gets filed with legislative services. Thank you.
Councilmember Diamond, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Similarly, received multiple emails, most of them, in fact, I think all of them against this. Also met with some citizens last week. I'll get all the names and list those for legislative services to get a file. Thank you.
Councilmember Johnson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I rise to declare additional ex parte. I have about 24 emails from the community, and I also called Ms. Trimmer. I had some questions about the planning or about the new plans. All those things have been filed with legislative services, and this is additional. Thank you.
Councilmember White, you're recognized.
Sir, I rise to declare ex parte. All my emails and correspondence has been filed. Thank you.
Councilmember Freeman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I, too, would like to declare ex parte. I met with the applicant, Cindy Trimmer, in my office, and she shared the details of it, and I also received the same emails that everyone else has, and that will be filed with legislative services. Thank you.
All right. And I have ex parte communication. I met yesterday with community members from various organizations in various parts of town, and we discussed basically the entire site plan, the PUD, things that have changed along the way, and this paperwork will get filed with legislative services. With that, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing and get a staff report.
Thank you. This is the companion PUD rezoning ordinance 2025-0488, which is seeking to rezone approximately 6.82 acres of land, which is split zone between RLD 60 and CCG 2 to a PUD in order to expand commercial uses. To the northern portion of the site, this is approximately about 1.38 acres of the entire parcel, in order to maximize their property for commercial uses. The existing development includes a multi-tenant commercial center, which includes an international grocery store and also other commercial retail uses. Majority of the subject property is currently zoned CCG2, which is one of our most intense commercial categories. The applicant has submitted a revised Exhibit 3 written description dated February 3rd, and you do have a copy of that updated written description, which has removed the proposed previous use of live animal processing, so therefore it would not be permitted on the site if approved with that updated written description. This updated written description also removes some more intense commercial uses that are allowed by right within the CCG2 zoning district. So these uses include alcohol sales for on or off premises consumption, dancing entertainment facilities, and also nightclubs. They also include additional restrictions on other uses, including automobile service stations and tire shops. The uses listed in the revised written description are those that are currently permitted on the southern portion of the site, which again is currently zoned CCG2, and then it's removing the more intense ones, as previously mentioned. The PUD will also include an expansion of square footage for commercial uses to include 30,000 square feet along the western boundary. So this is the property adjacent to existing commercial uses and personal property storage facility. And then also an expansion building 23,800 square feet, which is a multi-tenant shopping center along the eastern portion of the site. This is the structure on the site plan that is closest to Cortez Road and is in an area that, again, is already zoned CCG2. Staff has reviewed the request and finds that the proposed development and uses are consistent with the comp plan, with the companion land use amendment that was approved for CGC designation. We find the PUD meets the internal and external criteria by providing additional setbacks, buffers that are similar to CCG, and also requiring Part 12 landscaping requirements. They're also requiring that a 25-foot buffer along all land adjacent to existing residential zoning properties is provided. The site plan for the proposed development also shows an additional 25-foot setback along the northern property boundary for the commercial shopping center expansion and will include a transition of heights. CCG2 currently allows for 60-foot maximum height. This PUD will set a standard within the first 30 feet of property adjacent to existing residential, that the maximum height could only be 35 feet. This is similar to the max height that is allowed in residential. And then outside of that 30 feet, then you can transition up. Beach Boulevard is a heavily commercialized corridor along with other industrial uses further west, and you have commercial uses that extend further north into the residential area. Given the development standards and limitations within the PUD, we find that the proposed project is consistent and compatible with the existing surrounding development. So therefore, we are forwarding a recommendation of approval with a revised Exhibit 3. This is the written description dated February 3rd. And a revised Exhibit 4. This is the site plan dated December 9th. And both, those are listed in your agenda. The revised Exhibit 3 is not listed the date correctly since we just received that today. Application was heard by Planning Commission on January 22nd, where there were several speakers in opposition. Many of the concerns that were raised were due to truck access onto Cortez, preventing trucks from turning north into a residential area. And then additional comments included requests to remove certain uses from the listed written description. The applicant has addressed a lot of those concerns with the updated written description that's dated February 3rd. And they're also working with the city's Transportation and Traffic Engineering Division on options to limit truck access onto North Cortez. The revised written description updated signage at the entrance of Cortez Road prohibiting commercial vehicles such as large box trucks, dump trucks, and semis from turning left onto Cortez Road. There was one speaker in support of the rezoning who felt that the property owner's intent to clean up the property would be a benefit to the community. So the commission had no concerns with the requested rezoning with these revised exhibits, and they voted to approve the request with a vote 6-1. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for that. We will go to first the applicant, Cindy Trimmer.
Good evening. Thank you so much. Cindy Trimmer, 1 Independent Drive, Suite 1200 on behalf of the applicant. What you have in front of you tonight is the culmination of months of effort to try to get this right after the first application was received as it was by the community. The PUD in front of you is solely for a commercial shopping center. I handed out a summary of the PUD revisions. I'm going to read them onto the record so that everybody can hear them and they're clear. We've revised the PUD so that it only follows CCG2 with no additional industrial uses. They have all been removed. We have expressly prohibited slaughterhouses in Section 4A12 for anybody that wants to proof it, consistent with the CCG2 recommendations. We have eliminated all of the following uses on the site: adult arcade amusement centers, racetracks for animals or vehicles, adult entertainment, nightclubs, dancing entertainment establishments with or without alcohol, restaurants that serve alcohol, any establishment with beer, wine for off-site sales, that would be a liquor store, or any establishment with beer, wine, alcohol sales on-site, for example, a bar. Based on additional feedback, we have modified the following uses: boat yards, which are otherwise permittable on more than 4 acres of the site today, we have taken out and made it only a use by exception, which would require a public hearing. We have added restrictions to automobile service stations so that you can't stockpile disabled or out-of-service vehicles. There were concerns that it would turn into a storage yard. We've made it very clear that that is not allowed to happen and that any use as a storage yard would require a zoning exception with an additional public hearing. We have also added guidelines for any type of tire operator, like a Mavis Tire or a Tire Kingdom. Rather than just referring to Part 4, we've put very explicit requirements in there that any tires that would be on site would be screened and not visible from a right-of-way or from any adjacent property. We have provided a minimum 25-foot setback around the entire residential perimeter of the property. And as you heard Aaron say, we provided a gradual height limitation so that anything that is built along that property line is only allowed to be up to 35 feet, which is what you can do on the low-density residential property next door. That is how we have worked to ensure a gradual transition of uses between this PUD and the neighboring property. And then based on the feedback that we heard regarding traffic and those concerns, we did add a requirement working with the city traffic engineer that there be signage when you're coming out of the property onto Cortez that makes it clear that any of that commercial truck traffic is not allowed to turn into the neighborhood. There is signage to that effect today at the corner of Cortez and Beach, but to reinforce it for anybody that is in the property coming out so that it's in your face before you go out. Hearing all of the traffic concerns, I want to make clear, if you look at the site plan today, there are about 4 different full access points along Beach Boulevard for this property. The engineer has already met with FDOT, and those are consolidating. We're fully eliminating 2 of them. We're improving the westernmost one so that it is only a right into the property. And then there will be 1 full access point on Beach Boulevard. So rather than 4, it's consolidating to 1 full access and 1 right in only. We've had a lot of questions about why is this a PUD? Why is it not just going to the straight CCG2 zoning district? I want to make very clear, I did state on the record previously that all of the uses they are asking for, they could do by right in CCG2. That remains true today. Frequently, we have a PUD where you're trying to add a use. That's not what they've done here. The PUD that you have in front of you right now serves 3 main purposes. It grandfathers the existing building. We routinely see PUDs in here where you're just trying to bring an old building into compliance and there are things that you can't make fully comply. For example, the frontage on Beach where the uniform store is has parking lots that are close to or parking spaces that are close to the right-of-way. Those are not fully compliant. We can't rebuild the existing building there, so it's grandfathering those existing site conditions. We have also used the PUD to remove options for use that would otherwise be offensive, and we have used the PUD to build in protections that you cannot build into a standard district. So that is why you have a PUD here. And again, the 3 most impacted property owners that are immediately adjacent and abutting have all filed letters saying that they support the application as revised before you today.
All right. So we have quite a few speaker cards. First, Cynthia Yedlika, are you here? And would you like to speak? I know you were on the last one, didn't wish to speak. Okay. Don't wish to speak is in opposition. And next we have Kathleen Pereira, followed by John Scott, then Jessica Ring, and then Seaborn O'Quinn.
My name is Kathleen Pereira. My information is on file. And I need to let y'all know that the Planning Commission made their decision based on what the evidence that was presented to them at that time, and they did not have this revised edition that was presented today. So that makes it very interesting how this all is panning out. And some people think that this makes sense when stipulations and eliminations can be placed on PUDs. That is true, but in this case, there's still a lot of ambiguous wording that some of it has been cleared up. But one of the things that's of concern is about allowing, and this is on Part B, entitled Explanation of Proposed Deviations or Waivers, which used to be on page 3 of 11, but I don't know where it is now since we haven't seen the new PUD definition. But it said that it would allow flexibility in the build-out of future phases, recognizing site constraints imposed by the unique shape of the property. What kind of flexibility in the build-out of future phases does this applicant need, and what are these future phases? Frankly, this implies that this applicant does have future plans to fully build out their property and will do so in phases, which might mean more encroachment into the neighborhood, not to mention concerns about impacts to the infrastructure and traffic with larger warehouses. Clarifying this with a phone call to the attorney or verbally presenting intentions of the project will not be binding because none of it is in writing in this ordinance. The best compromise is to keep the current zoning of this property and allow future development under those guidelines. And if in all due respect, if all of your decisions are based on whether or not that you have a probability of a lawsuit, then no city business can be done. Withdraw or vote this ordinance down. Thank you.
All right, next we have John Scott. Don't wish to speak, is in opposition. Next is Jessica Ring. Ms. Ring, do you wish to speak?
Well, I don't want to be hot breath in the mic again, but On this one with the
Name and address. Sorry, Commissioner.
Jessica
Yep.
Ring, Atlantic Beach. My address is on file. With the PUD, as you're looking at it, it's going to allow this district complete flexibility. And I would, again, urge you to vote no on this, because where are the details and the specifications of what exactly they're putting up there, and what will this look like 10, 20 years from now? I understand I'm an elected official in Atlantic Beach, and I think very carefully before rezoning any lot in my 3.5 square mile city. So I ask you to do the same. Each of you have shared dozens and dozens of emails in opposition, and you clearly did not listen to your constituents, aside from 2 council people up here, in opposition for this. So do so now with this one. Thank you.
Next, we have Seaborn O'Quinn. Do not wish to speak, is in opposition. Kristen Brewer.
Hi, Kirsten Brewer. My address is on file. So if you remember the last city council meeting on November 25th when we went through this, we talked about the live animal processing to permit butchering and live animal processing and commercial uses. It's still here. And if you remember, I told you that according to the city, when I called, it's not considered a slaughterhouse, that it was based on quantity of animals, the number of animals. So it's not a slaughterhouse. You brought up that there was confusion over that, and yet the confusion's still there. When we looked at the agenda, even after it was requested it be removed, there it is. But yet on 487, someone took out the light industrial. So how is it, again, this is exactly what I was saying before. Why is it still there? And, you know, it is a PUD. It's a conceptual site plan, which means conceptual. It's nothing, it's not a concrete plan. Also on the map that Ms. Trimmer referenced, the property that is across from the applicant, south of the applicant, CGC, that is not a Cortez Road address. It's 3162 St. John's Bluff, and behind that property, there is a retention pond. That is not a Cortez Road property. I also want to point out that the property, so there was a December 19th meeting when it was re-referred back to the Planning Commission, and the 4 days later, the property listed as 0 Cortez was purchased. I know that the applicant uses the map to show all the different zoning. That is a residential property that was purchased by the applicant. That property was not for sale, and yet it was purchased. That property was purchased for 3 times the market value. That was 4 days after it was re-referred. At the Planning Commission, Commissioner Gillette even stated she was the no vote because she could even look at it and she recognized that something more is going on. Something more is going on. It's very incremental. And so we want to retain the residential buffer between the land bridge now that the applicant will own. The burden of proof is on the applicant. And what has been purchased now is part of his asset portfolio, which means there will be a future use. He is exploring the possibility of a residence, but again, it's like a conceptual site plan. Thank you.
All right, next we have George Cheshire. Don't wish to speak, is in opposition. David Wesley.
I'm Dave Wesley. Address is on file. The lady just spoke about Ms. Kelly correcting the fact that the in-suites is not a part of Cortez Road. It's the AT&T building is there, and Palm Casual Furniture. That's the north side of Cortez Road. So I heard her saying that the traffic analysis will come, I guess, down the road. Now that you all have approved this, and you're all going to move on, and we're going to be stuck here fighting this forever. But as far as I know, the records of, as far as these traffic survey hasn't been done since 2020. You can probably correct me on that. But putting a signage up asking the traffic that's going to want to come out on Cortez Road, don't turn left, that's not going to work. They're going to find out. And if you, the way she's talked about all the expansion of these buildings, and over time, they're going to be filled up. And that's more and more and more and more and more traffic. That traffic is going to find its way to Cortez Road and head north. Thank you.
All right, next we have Richard Grant. All right, is in opposition, does not wish to speak. John Chimente, opposition, does not wish to speak. Okay. Michelle Oliveri, does not wish to speak. Lisa Ellen Dernberger.
My name is Lisa Ellen Dernberger. My address is on file. I oppose ordinance number 2025-0488, which seeks to rezone a planned unit development from CGC and LDR. The applicant has stated multiple times on record they can build all they want. The PUD tool is being misused to circumvent existing zoning rather than to genuinely create a cohesive, community-oriented development. The city's zoning code for PUDs clearly states that the intent of the PUD district is not to be used solely to diminish the usual application of the provisions of the zoning code. That is exactly what is happening here, a wholesale rezoning of residential land into a mixed commercial PUD. The current zoning provides a sound buffer as the residential portion is on all sides of the first neighbor on Cortez. Second, even though the PUD is being pitched as supporting the existing grocery Apna Bazaar with on-site halal meat processing, the live animal component being stripped out in the amendment leave questions as to their continued use and intent of use for future market fare. This is deeply troubling because live slaughter processing was the cornerstone of the original justification, along with the applicant's testimony on record to desire to simply relieve his financial burden. Remove that, and what remains is a PUD that does not serve the public interest as requested. It merely delivers questionable zoning for commercial expansion. Without the live processing use, the stated public purpose is effectively nullified, raising serious questions about why the zoning changes are being pursued at all. Third, the comprehensive plan land use categories make clear distinctions. This parcel was not mapped the way that this applicant wants it to go. It is mapped for low density and community commercial uses. Permitting manufacturing-sized warehouses via PUD here risks undermining the city's long-term land use strategy, as well as the health, safety, and welfare goals of the comprehensive plan. Finally, the Planning Commission said this is a straightforward retail rezone. The strong opposition from the community disagrees. This opposition is rooted in real concerns related to traffic, encroachment, spot zoning, and the precedent. What neighborhood will be safe if you rezone this? The PUD process should not be used as a shortcut to impose uses that are incompatible with the area, especially with the core justification being removed, which was live animal processing. Your quasi-judicial authority is to uphold the integrity of the comprehensive plan, protect our neighborhoods, and not allow the PUD tool to be weaponized for rezoning. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Kim Oliveri. Okay, you're opposed, do not wish to speak. John Troy Trenick. Okay, is in opposition, does not wish to speak. Jessica Schumacher.
Jessica Schumacher, address is on file. I wanted to do a rebuttal to Susan Kelly's comment. I think Kirsten already touched on this as well. The CGC on Cortez, closest to residential, is in fact a St. John's Bluff address, and I'm glad I was passing out this map that Cindy Trimmer supplied to us because it says it right on there, and it is circled for you guys. Similar to the last bill, I'd like to draw your attention to the 0488 section on your agenda. First page of your packet, there's clearly still live animal processing being considered. Why has that not been removed? I don't understand why it's still on the agenda, though. Second page of your packet, current plans in which still see pre-treatment swales listed. So if there's not live animal processing, why hasn't that been removed? This causes concern for the community that they're still, in fact, going to use this PUD to make changes and revisions later down the road. This can't be trusted. The commissioner at the Planning Commission saw through this and voted in opposition, and I invite you to ask her why. I also have some emails in there from Cindy Trimmer and I. I've highlighted some key terms: intent, planned, which is all conceptual, which all means can be changed later. And I would like to go on record and mention also in the Planning Commission meeting that our community was up in arms because there's all these ex partes of you having discussions with the applicant and going on site and visiting and us not having any communication with you. And I actually did reach out to my representative and several times in which I did not hear back. And I asked for a meeting several times. I called her, left a voicemail, his assistant, Carrico's assistant, and then I was told on the phone that we would have a meeting, a group meeting. It was quickly canceled with no other option or availability to me. So I'm very disappointed in that. I gave up. Please vote no.
All right, next we have Helen Chestnut. Do you wish to speak? All right, is in opposition. Shannon Blair. What? Councilmember Johnson, do you need to speak? Yeah, go ahead. You're recognized. Hold on, Ms. Blair.
Before you start, because she brought up some concerns, Mr. Chair, is there a way that we could get the General Counsel's office to explain why the short title had not changed? Because I think people still may not have understood that. Would you just like a quick blurb to explain why the short title has not changed on the agenda?
Absolutely. Mr. Reingold, can you please explain?
Through the chair to the whole committee and to the audience, please understand that the City Council has not yet as a whole adopted an amendment to the PUD ordinance. What is being proposed today as an amendment, as marked on the agenda, consistent with the written description that's been submitted, there will be a revised written description, a revised site plan, and then we will change the uses listed. Part of that, to the extent the LUZ committee adopts the revised written description and site plan, the words, and I want to be very clear about this, the words of butchering and, I have that here, the words butchering and live animal processing and will be removed entirely from the ordinance. And with that, I turn it back over to the chair.
Does that suffice, Councilmember Johnson? Okay. Yeah. Councilmember Johnson, Ms. Schumacher, Councilmember Johnson will speak with you, and Ms. Blair, I believe. Yep. Go
Hello
ahead.
again, Commissioners. Once again, my name is Shannon Blair, and my address is on file. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on 0488 again. Before I begin, I want to state for the record that I did previously request that Dr. Johnson recuse himself from voting, I believe, or providing any input on ordinances 2025-0487 and 0488. And if I had realized he was here earlier, I would have brought it up then. This request is based on his actions during the November 25th meeting, city council meeting involving the same items, in which he entered an invalid permit into evidence stating that he was able to view it on a Florida state website in real time, that it could never be viewed on that night or any other. And because this is a quasi-judicial land matter, impartiality is essential, and I ask that my recusal request be reflected in the record, and I hope that he will go ahead and do that. So Cindy says this is the outcome of months and months of trying to get it right, but here's the thing. There is no right way to do the wrong thing, so it's not going to happen. I want to focus narrowly on the text of the ordinance and its amendments, because the ongoing concerns you keep hearing about are coming from what's written there. So first, the 10,000 square foot butcher or meat processing cap, I think Rory did that in an attempt, I think that was a good faith attempt of protection, but I feel that it's done the opposite. That is extraordinarily large. For context, a typical grocery store butcher area would be about 500 to 1,500 square feet. Do you all know how big 10,000 square feet is? Take a thought about the size of your home and then multiply it by probably 3, 4, or 5 or more times that amount. Why would they need that size of an area to do butchering? So if this does pass through, I'm going to ask that there be a much lower cap put on that actually makes sense, because what the intent that's been stated over and over again doesn't match any need for anything near 10,000 square feet. So that's one thing. Also, there's still no explicit prohibition on live animal slaughter or processing. So even though the language has been removed from the written description, the ordinance doesn't clearly state that animals must arrive already deceased or that live animal processing is explicitly prohibited on site. And it does matter a lot, especially because there have been reports that workers have said that live animals have already been getting killed on site, including small animals like birds, like chickens. So I think that it's especially important. And also the term meat processing remains undefined. So without a clear definition, that excludes the slaughter or live animal processing. That's an issue.
All right, next we have Carolyn Hughes.
Carolyn Hughes, name on file. Address on file. We have all seen the rendering of this site. It is a conceptual rendering. It is not a legally binding document. And a vision, it is a vision. Visions are fluid things which can change or grow. In this situation, statements are being made that are vague, such as intend, can't be determined, unlimited. If this were a legally binding rendering, we would all still have a dump site and treatment well on this site to deal with next to a PUD. Over and over again, when we started coming to these meetings, we were constantly being asked for our substantial credible evidence. Where is their substantial credited evidence? That we are being asked to provide, they should also be asked to provide, showing that this will not do harm. You place an unfair burden on the residents of this city. You ask people who have no training or understanding of zoning to provide you with substantial credible evidence. You ask for evidence when most have no real idea or real understanding of what you are truly asking, not to mention the cost that we have to come up with to pay for our evidence. A letter sent from Ms. Trimmer stated that if this was approved, they would ask the City Traffic Division to determine the impact. I would suggest that they should have to do that before, as well as an environmental impacts. It is very difficult to undo harm, much easier to prevent harm in the first place. We remain, from day one, concerned about our wells. If this is allowed, you set a precedent for the entire city of Jacksonville, not just Cortez Road. Again, everything we have been given about this site is conceptual. The rendering is not a definitive document. If you grant a PUD on the basis of what the applicant thinks he might do, he is not legally bound to do it. It is left open for determination at a later date. If one of those huge buildings is for rental income, then what's the other one intended for? And what do the other, how many existing storage buildings have PUDs and swells next to them? Treatment swells.
Okay, next we have Betty Hayes.
Betty Hayes, and my address and information is on file. From what maybe I'm confused. From what I'm reading here and what you just said, sir, Mr. Ringo, why are we even needing to rezone anything? Could you answer me that?
Ma'am, right now, this is actually, you can pause your time. So during the public hearing, this is,
okay.
We can't.
Well, he just made that statement, and I came up, I was going to speak, but then I'm thinking, well, why are we even rezoning anything if they're changing this? But let me just tell you this.
You can start her time back.
I'm sorry?
I was talking to the staff. You can go ahead.
Okay. I just want to tell you, I live on the west side, and I know Jacksonville. I've lived here since '63. I've owned 2 businesses, and I'm a business person. I'm pro-business, and I'm also from Georgia, and I know what a slaughterhouse is all about. Slaughter business, because my folks killed hogs and cows in the wintertime. I grew up in Tampa, but we'd go back to Georgia every year and they would kill hogs, and then my parents would take back to Tampa. But anyway, Jacksonville has been a country town, and it's wanting to be a city now, and now we're wanting to go backwards and build a slaughterhouse. This is ridiculous. And I think any of you that's wanting to run for office again, that you're going to be known as the slaughterhouse person for Jacksonville, Florida. Thank you.
Okay. Next we have, Councilmember White, you're recognized.
Through the chair, I don't think Ms. Hayes was here when Mr. Reingold spoke. Could we get him to say that on the record one more time, that the slaughterhouse has been taken out of this?
Sure.
Would you allow that? Sure. Mr. Reingold, would you? So Ms. Hayes was not here, and I would like her to hear this.
Through the chair to Councilmember White, the LUZ committee, and the audience, and Ms. Hayes, the slaughterhouse component, as proposed today in the written description and site plan, has been removed.
All right, thank you, Mr. Reingold. Next, the following speakers do not wish to speak, but are in opposition. I'll go ahead and read these names, and then we'll go back to Cindy Trimmer for rebuttal. If anyone wishes to speak, when I call your name, please just come down to the podium, and if you change your mind, you can speak. Shirley Rushin, Pamela Barker, Richard Hughes, James Ogborn, Rebecca Moran, Brandon Schumacher, Lisa Francis, Sean Francis, John Brewer, Rachel Landon, Scott Landon, Tyler Ring, Margaret Latimer, Isabel O'Quinn, Carla Looney, Cynthia Pittman, Johnny Pittman, Cynthia Cole. All filled out public speaker card and are in opposition. Ms. Trimmer, you have 3 minutes.
Cindy Trimmer, 1 Independent Drive, Suite 1200. Running through the concerns that we've heard, that the Planning Commission didn't have this PUD before them. It was substantially similar. The only changes that have occurred to this PUD between the Planning Commission and tonight are to make it more restrictive. We have added additional protections and we have further eliminated uses. With regard to the concerns that this is a conceptual site plan, every PUD you see in front of you has a conceptual site plan. We explain it to people that you can always do less, you can never do more. The PUD that's adopted today adopts the absolute worst case, most intense condition that this PUD will ever allow, and it stays with the property forever. So in terms of what's going to happen and what happens in the future with phases, it will always be bound by the protections that are in this PUD, and it can never be more intense, larger, more anything than is what adopted today. With regard to the comments that we should leave the residential where it is because that provides a buffer, the PUD provides a better buffer for the residential use and provides more protection and a better scaled transition from the residential than the land use that exists today. It gives more of a buffer and a scaled transition. The traffic concerns, again, will be addressed through the city's permitting process. I will state on the record one last time, the new property that was acquired can be used for retention or for residential only, not commercial uses. And it is not included in the application, and your planning department can confirm that there is no change proposed to that property. With regard to the permit that has been referred to at the prior hearing, just to state it on the record, during that hearing there was an allegation that they didn't have a permit. It's not relevant, but the city's attorney came down and asked me to obtain a copy. I obtained a copy. I provided it to the city's attorney, and the city's attorney provided it to a council member. That is how it was provided during that hearing. And finally, when we talk about public purpose, the public purpose that is served with this, it is a de-intensification. Keep in mind, most of this site today is CCG2. The square footage limitation, the use limitations, and all of the protections that are provided in here actually make it less intense than what you can do on most of that property by right today. And I would close with saying this is a PUD, so it is quasi-judicial. You have a staff report from your planners that recommend approval, and that is your competent and substantial evidence we ask that you find with the weight of the evidence before you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Councilman Gaffney, do you have a question for Ms. Trimmer? We're about to close the public hearing, but you can go ask her. Okay. Let's go ahead and get it now. You're recognized.
Thank you, through the chair, to Ms. Trimmer. In a couple of sentences, can you explain to myself and the community, I mean, what's the purpose of this PUD? I know they got a lot of concerns. I know there's been a long, drawn-out process. But what are you guys planning to do? I mean, in a couple of sentences, I know y'all doing stores. You could talk about what type of stores, how many, the whole 9 yards, so we could, I guess, get a better understanding. And I ain't gonna say feel more comfortable, but at least it's clear. And we can put it on record.
What is proposed for this site is an expansion of what you have on the site today. They have abandoned all requests that have anything to do with animals on this site. It is just a commercial shopping center. So retail, restaurants, service establishments like what they have in there today are what are contemplated. And the square footage limitation is less than many of the shopping centers that are on that immediate Beach Boulevard corridor.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that question. Last question to Mr. Ringo. What are some of the prevented uses that they can't do? I mean, maybe this might be an opportunity for the community to state what they don't want in this PUD. I just don't want to catch the community off guard 2 or 3 years from now, and they see something that they caught them off surprise.
So through the chair to Councilmember Gaffney, so specifically outlined in the written description as presented as dated February 3rd, 2026, the following uses that would be otherwise allowed in CCG2 are not allowed in the PUD. There are no racetracks for animals or vehicles, no adult entertainment, no nightclubs, no dancing entertainment establishments with or without alcohol service, no restaurants that serve alcoholic beverages such as liquor, beer, wine. There will be no establishments or facilities which include the retail sale of all alcoholic beverages, including liquor, beer, wine for off-premises consumption. And then there's a reiteration of the on-premises consumption prohibition. And then there's also no adult arcade amusement centers also. And then additionally, where there may have been some confusion on page 5 of the written description, it says that there is some light manufacturing processing allowed, but it's very clear it includes food processing, but not slaughterhouse as part of that. So those are the uses that are eliminated that otherwise are typically allowed within CCG2. I'd be happy to answer any additional questions, and with that, I turn it back over to the chair.
All right. With that, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring back to committee. And committee members, if you notice, we do have the amendments listed below. So I'm just going to go ahead and first ask Mr. Reingold, can you explain these amendments, and we're taking them all up at once or all individually?
So as noted, as typical with most of our items, we have 3 noted amendments that are proposed. One is that it be subject to a revised written description dated February 3rd, 2026. That is the item that was handed out today and is in front of you. 2, there is a revised written description dated December 9th, 2025. And the third component of the amendment is to remove and strike from the legislation the reference to, quote, butchering and live animal processing and, close quote, both in the body of the bill and in the title. And with that, I turn it back over to the chair.
All right. Do we have a motion on the amendment? All right. We have a motion and a second on the amendment. Is anyone in the queue on the amendment? Okay. Councilmember Diamond, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to support the amendment because this makes this better for all the different reasons we've discussed. I'm going to be a no on the bill itself. I assume it's going to pass, but 10,000 square feet of just flex space just gives me the same concern that all the neighbors have been talking about. So I'll be a no on the bill. I assume it's going to pass. So it's really be for the neighbors to keep an eye on things to see if there's a slaughterhouse going on over there. And if there is, call the city.
All right. With that, President Carrico, I'm assuming you're on the bill. All right. All in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The amendment carries. We need a motion on the bill as amended. All right. We have a motion and a second on the bill as amended. Council President Carrico, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'm in the same position I was, obviously, on the land use here, on the zoning. I do want to thank Councilmember Diamond. He shares something with me that the rest of you don't. He has to drive on Beach Boulevard. He lives at the beach. West side, north side, San Marco, north side, west side. You guys don't drive down Beach Boulevard. So you probably don't see that this intersection, especially Cortez, it's a small road. It's not St. John's Bluff or one of the big intersections that a lot of the commercial spaces are easier to get in and out of. So I still share the same concerns. And I point back to what Mr. Wesley brought, the pictures, to see those big trucks backing in and trying to get in and out of this current area. It's just troublesome to see that, with that much more space, that many more trucks will be there, endangering the safety and encroaching on the residential. So I'm a no. LDR shouldn't be turned into PUDs that allow commercial uses. That's just infringing on the people that live in the area. So I do want to address the one lady came down and talked about the meeting. We did have a meeting scheduled with I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 people. It's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation here. I didn't think that was enough. There had been so many people involved in this. I didn't think having a small meeting like that would be enough. So I wanted to open that up to a whole community, so everyone could come back out and everyone could have their voices heard. And her prerogative, but the applicant didn't want to have that big meeting again. We had a big meeting with 200 people. It was very emotional. People got upset. People cried. People threw out racial slurs. It was it was a very intense meeting, so she didn't want to have that meeting. So without the applicant, there's no reason for just me to meet with the whole community, because I can't do anything about it other than vote. So I wanted to explain that to you because you're upset that it got canceled. That's why. And I'm still going to be a no. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Councilmember Johnson, you're recognized.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Before I get into this, very quickly, I want everyone to understand, through the chair, to our team here, and I want to thank everyone for the work that they've put into doing this, but I heard someone say something which was quite disquieting to me, and it was specifically that we don't listen because we've heard and seen the emails from the community. That's absolutely not true. And I really wish, especially people that understand elected service, supposedly, that we look into this and understand that we are held to, at least for parts of this, competent, substantial evidence. I try to do my part not to make a decision until I'm sitting here and I've had a chance to look at every bit of the evidence, even though I understand, as Mr. Reingold has instructed me, and that competent, substantial evidence is only the burden of proof for quasi-judicial actions. I still want to make sure in all actions that I do, especially when it comes to land use and zoning, that I have a rationale and a reason. While emails and public sentiment are certainly a part of the evidence that's brought forth, we must also look at statutes. We must also look at the law. And if the evidence, and I have given some of you a little primer that I put together to help me understand how to not just interpret competent, substantial evidence, but how to create it, how to make sure it's there. In fact, I had an attorney tell me, I'd rather you not give this to people because it's going to make my job harder. But I'd rather have them have a hard job and your voice be as loud as possible. So while I have looked through all the emails, competent, substantial evidence is important, and we absolutely do listen. And Mr. President, through the chair, I do drive down Beach Boulevard. I like to go down that way. There's some good food over on that side of town. So I think me and Councilmember White, we're not just stuck on the west side. And I'll tell you, I know it is a pretty tough intersection there, but I also err on the side of property owners' rights, not just the people that live there, but the people that own property there. So I'm looking at every bit of this as it comes in. And as was said earlier, as Councilman Diamond said so eloquently, we can't police or be everywhere and everything. But if there's an issue and someone is not a person of their word that they've given to this council, you have redress with the city of Jacksonville. And as Councilman Diamond said earlier, we will make sure that it's taken care of. So while I am not, I'm still looking at all the information, I also want to protect everybody's right. And that's what this is about. And we do listen. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for letting me put that on the record.
All right, Councilmember Freeman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And obviously this piece of legislation in front of us is different than the last one that we voted on. And so, but in connection with it, I'll say this, and was not going to speak on this. LUZ is a very tough committee. No doubt about it. It's my 9th year on the council, 8th or 9th year on the council, 2 years serving as an assistant. You're like an umpire. One side's always happy, one side's not. I had to play catch up joining this committee in August, so I could only imagine those of you sitting out there that you weren't a part of this in the very beginning and you jumped in and you're trying to play catch up as well. I have the fortune of having city attorneys and planners and listening. You have to go through archives and go through all of those things. For that, I understand your passion. I understand a lot of the things, your concerns. However, as my colleague said, there are certain sets of standards that I'm held to when I'm looking at legislation, when I'm looking at zoning. I was a hard no on anything with the animal piece. That was a challenge. I thought that there were concessions made, and I've been told that there were concessions made that removed that. To me, it almost seems like the goalpost continues to move. I understand that you're not going to get everything that you want, but when I do see forms of compromise, when I see an applicant willing to work with the community, I was a representative of District 10, and I could have this whole room filled with seniors and people that talked about liquor stores being placed in 10. And trust me, I understand, when every time I go through, I'm the one that passed the legislation, so it didn't just go to planning commission, that it had to come to the council because of the liquor store that you just see over there by the morgue. So I understand what you're dealing with. No, it's not a person just sitting here staring at my phone missing it. I've represented a community where we saw things happen. But when they are by law, when they legally are able to do it, and we're held to our fiduciary duty of following the law, I can't base a vote off of emotion. Now, I'm not going to say how I'm voting right now, and we'll see when it comes up, because I'm a little concerned, and I will say this, and I had to put my readers on when I saw that part of the 2 bays. And for some reason, I must have missed that little piece that was highlighted, and thank you for whoever sent that, because that is that language on the description that was given, and I didn't match it up to what was presented, so I'll just have to lean on our legal that had the 2 bay doors, and it used the word solve, or it was too small for me to read it even with my glasses. That was a concern. But I will push back on my colleague just a little bit when we start speaking prophecy of bad things happening in our city. I see the glasses half full, and I see the good in humanity. And I lead with trust. I believe in leading with trust. So no, I'm not going to encourage you to follow behind and check on people every day that they're going to break the law, because I'm going to trust that they're not. But I'm also going to trust the good men and women of JSO, the good men and women that work for our code enforcement, that if something does come, they will be there. I'm going to trust that Councilman Carrico, who knows that I gas up on the Sam's gas station right there. Latin Creations is one of my favorite restaurants. I eat at once a week. I do a lot of stuff, and I work in that area. I'm going to trust that he's going to stay on top of it if it were to pass. But I do not want to put that out there that you all need to go play like police officers and follow up on folks, because I don't think that's going to be the case. So I'll close there. I may get back on in the queue later if I hear some more things that kind of move me, put me down as a 50-50 right now, and I'm going to continue to listen to the debate. Thank you.
All right. You were the last speaker. So, Councilman Gaffney, you recognize, and then I'll weigh in some thoughts here.
Thank you. Through the chair, I'll try to be brief. I know this is going to be our last time talking about this. I mean, until Tuesday anyway. I'm just trying to figure out from the community, what is it that they want? I mean, I heard a lot of concerns. I heard the council person, he spoke about traffic. I did go visit the site like 7-8 months ago, Cortez. I don't know if the roads can be wide. I'm trying to figure out what's a deal breaker from the community. I don't know who to ask. I know I heard 10,000 square feet. I'm just trying to figure out, because from my understanding, what the planning department brought to my attention, we voting on a shopping center, what they already doing. So I'm trying to figure out from the community, if it's one thing to make this legislation right, what would be that one thing? I'm just trying to figure out from the community. If we can, Councilman Carlucci. I mean, I'm one person up, because we've been on this like 2 hours, so we're going on 2 hours. So it's like 4 people.
You have one.
One of y'all come up. I mean, the best spokesperson for the district. I mean, and if we can keep it brief. And I'm gonna shut up, y'all.
So the community is asking for them to build in the zoning that they have, because it'll be much smaller. If you rezone it to be this open-ended PUD, they can build big, they can build whatever they want. If you keep it with the residential, that will make everything smaller. And no Cortez Road entrance. That they close that entrance that is on Cortez Road. Because right now everybody references Beach Boulevard. Hello, the development's going in back of Cortez Road. It's the Cortez, or the development, and Cortez neighbors' backyards. It's not Beach Boulevard.
Okay, thank you for that. One last question. I guess, Ms. Bannister, if you could come up from my transportation department, I just want to ask a question about the traffic off Cortez Road. If you can introduce your name and who you are. Your name and who you are.
Hi, Larice Bannister, Acting Chief of Transportation Division.
Okay. I guess my question is, have we done a traffic study on Cortez Road? I know a lot of the community spoke about the traffic concerns coming off Cortez Road about this legislation. Have we done a traffic study? Can this road be wide? I don't know. I'm just asking questions. Have we done a deep dive study
At this time, we haven't done anything. We're not at that position yet, sir, through the chair. As you said, we're still in the planning efforts. Nothing we've worked out with traffic engineer. The only suggestion was the additional signage for the time being, but they haven't looked at the intersection or the driveway access. A study would have to be in place, and that's not done yet.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. So, Councilmember Freeman, if you would like, and then I'll go after you.
All right, thanks, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to just add context. The diagram I just heard from planning, the bays that were circled, and thank you for sending this to us. And again, I can't read it this small, but that is a requirement for dumpsters. So that those two little circled areas that I looked at and I thought that was for intake of those said animals. It is a requirement within from our planning. And through the chair to Ms. Aaron, can you please just share what you said with me?
Yeah, through the chair to the council. So on the site plan, you'll see two marks on there that refer to dumpster enclosures and pretreatment swells. These pretreatment swells are required during the civil plan review process as just a requirement for all dumpsters, regardless of zoning district. So even if they were going in today under the current CCG2 zoning district, they would be required to provide these pretreatment swells within the dumpster enclosure area.
Okay, so through the chair to Ms. Avenue, if this were a Publix opening, would they have that same language in their design potentially?
Through the chair. So correct, yes, if they were going, a new Publix going there today and they're going through the civil review process, the drainage reviewer and landscaping would require them to show a pretreatment swell for all dumpsters on the property.
So thank you. So through the chair to Ms. Avenue, this is not exclusively exclusive to this pro zoning or this issue?
No, it's a citywide base requirement.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that I was understanding because that did raise a concern of mine, and I wanted to make sure I got the right answer. So thank you so much for sharing, and thank you for bringing that to the record.
Okay, I have a few questions. This is mainly for the planning department, and that is how tall could any building on this parcel be without the current PUD conditions with the height restriction?
To the chair, under the CCG2 zoning district, the maximum height is 60 feet.
What's the condition?
Within the current PUD, there will be a transition buffer. So within the first 30 feet of the property adjacent to existing residential, the maximum height would be limited to 35 feet. This is the max height that's allowed within residential districts. Outside of that, it could go up to 60 feet.
Okay, 35 feet. How many stories is that, Ms. Abney? 35 feet, roughly 2 stories with a roof line?
Correct, yes.
Okay. And then how close could this be to the abutting property without the current PUD conditions?
They are under the existing zoning district. There are setback requirements. When you're adjacent to residential, it would be 25 feet. And then 10-foot uncomplimentary buffer according to landscaping code.
Okay. And so, for me, the conversations that I've been able to have, with some of the members here in this audience, it seems like, when we're able to talk and just like explain to you or explain to everybody kind of what's happening, I never leave those meetings feeling like you're upset. I always feel like you understand it better, and there's not as big of a concern. I think half of the concern that I do hear when we meet is the process. Probably 75% actually is probably the process, and I'll agree with you on that. The process is tough because neighbors don't have all the information. They don't know how to do this type of thing, and why would you, right? I mean, but then you come in and it's hard to kind of just build your case on a quick thing. So I get that, but all the frustration usually is, hey, this process, this, that. But to Councilmember Gaffney's point, some of those meetings when I've spoken to everyone, it's been, hey, show us what you do want and what is going to be acceptable. I think y'all were kind of on a good track with that. What we want is not a slaughterhouse. So we checked that off really quickly. We heard it loud and clear. Then, you wanted confirmation that it actually wasn't going to be a slaughterhouse, so we've checked that box a lot. And then we got into these other conditions, such as setbacks, such as height requirements, such as not allowing, adult entertainment, nightclubs, dancing entertainment, restaurants with alcohol, a laundry list of things that are not good things either. So, I don't disagree either with my colleague, Councilmember Freeman, that the goalposts can't continue to move. There has to be a point in time where we say, this is what we've all come to agree upon. And I think that's where we're at right now. I know that might not agree with some of you, but I think at the end of the day, this is in a much, much better position than it was when we started. I would argue it went even further than we've normally seen on this committee where other PUDs land. So that's where I'm at. As far as the entrance on Cortez, I mean, there's an entrance now, so I don't think we can do anything with that. But is my understanding these trucks are not allowed on this road, right? The sign that the gentleman provided, basically no semi trucks over 26,000 pounds. Like that is not allowed today.
To the chair, so Cortez Road is restricted for truck use designation.
Okay, and 26,000 pounds, like put that in layman's terms, like is that like a typical semi truck or is that a box truck?
Box truck.
Box truck. Okay, so it's even smaller than a semi truck. So that's already in place right now. So what I think, if there's any type of those types of delivery trucks on that road, is that a JSO? I guess, Mr. Rangel, is that a JSO issue? Is that a code compliance issue? Like, who can be called upon once that happens, or if that happens?
Through the chair, I'm assuming people would call all of the relevant agencies.
Well, who's the enforcement? Who's
if it's our code, it's the municipal code of compliance. If it's an FDOT regulation, it's going to be a state issue. But with regards to city enforcement of city issues, it's going to go through code of compliance.
Okay.
Through the chair.
And I think yes, ma'am.
Just to clarify, we do have a truck route ordinance code. So as far as the restrictions in those designated roads, we have a enforcement portion that JSO is entitled to enforce. So to be clear, when you said it's restricted, the only use that's allowed on those restricted routes are for pickup and delivery purposes. So if they're doing a cut through to get between Atlantic and Beach, just to cut through and not have a designated area along that route,
okay,
then that's the case.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. Except local delivery. So I guess because then therefore you got problems with Amazon at that point, right? Going to actual houses. So okay, thank you. I appreciate it. And that was the extent of my questions. I'm comfortable with this. I'm comfortable with all the amendments. I'm comfortable with where the PUD has actually landed at this point. And I think the discussion has been good, and I think it's been very thorough. So at this point, Mr. Reingold, are we ready to move did we vote on the amendments? I don't know if we even moved them.
Through the chair, we have moved the amendment and seconded, and then there was a move the bill and seconded on as amended with a second. So at this point, you're ready to open up the ballot and record the vote.
Okay. Open the ballot, record your votes.
Five yeas, 2 nays.
By your action, you've approved 2025-488 as amended. All right, item number 3, 2025-630. Let's open the public hearing. No speaker cards. Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, speaker cards. Yeah, zoned out. We're on 6:30. I'm assuming we have no speaker cards. No speaker cards. We will continue this public hearing until 2:18:26. Item number 4, 2025-724 is deferred. Item number 5, 2025-829. Council members, please declare any ex parte communication you have at this time on Bill 829. Councilmember Gaffney, you recognized.
Thank you. Through the chair, I rise to declare ex parte. I held a community meeting on the 8th of this month, well, last month. I'll make sure I get everything get filed with legislative services. Thank you.
All right, we have no other ex parte, so let's open the public hearing and get a staff report.
Thank you. This is conventional rezoning ordinance 2025-0829, which is seeking to rezone approximately 17.99 acres from residential rural acre to RLD 50 to develop the property with single-family dwellings. The property is located along Percy Road, which is just west of Lim Turner Road and north of I-295. The surrounding area is developed primarily with single-family dwellings. However, it has recently seen many rezonings to allow for smaller lot sizes and also multi-family dwellings. The property located just west of the subject site was rezoned back in 2022 to permit up to 300 multi-family units. Property to the north of the subject site was rezoned to RLD 60 back in 2023. And northwest of the site, there's a development that was rezoned in 2019 to permit single-family dwellings similar in lot sizes to the request today. Staff has reviewed the request and finds that the proposed development and uses are consistent with the comp plan with the existing land use designation for low-density residential, which would allow for a maximum density of 7 units per acre. Given the development pattern for the immediate area, we find the requested rezoning to be consistent and compatible. So we are forwarding a recommendation of approval. Application was heard by Planning Commission on January 22nd, where there were no speakers in opposition and little discussion, and the commission voted unanimously for approval.
All right, thank you. We have one speaker card. Cindy Trimmer.
Mine only?
What's that?
Am I the only speaker card?
Yes, you are.
Then I will spare you my handouts. I wasn't sure after the community meeting. We did hold a community meeting and heard feedback from the community. This started out as a request for 40-foot lots. If you look at the site plan that was provided when we had several meetings, it's almost 18 acres, and it only has 48 lots. And that is because there are sensitive wetlands on this site that are being preserved. And we had been asked previously about benefits to the community and had done some of the calculations. There will be about $114,000 mobility fee paid on this, and they will be installing about 1,350 linear feet of sidewalks that will connect to that proposed multifamily subdivision that's immediately to the west. With that, I will stand by for questions.
All right, with that, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back to committee. Motion is second on the bill. No discussion. Open the ballot. Record your vote.
Six yeas, 0 nays.
By direction, you've approved 2025-829. Item number 6, 2025-862. Council members declare any ex parte communication you have at this time. 862. Seeing none, let's open the public hearing and get a staff report.
Okay, sorry. This is conventional rezoning ordinance 2025-0862, which is seeking to rezone approximately 0.35 acres of land from commercial office to residential office. The request is being sought to remove the commercial classification in order to utilize the property for a single-family residential home. The subject property is located along Rogero Road, which is classified as a collector roadway, where this section of corridor that runs from Merrill Road to Arlington Road is a mix of commercial office zoning, CRO, and CCG1 properties. The site is identified as being located within the bounds of the old Arlington Neighborhood Action Plan. This was approved back in 2007. While is a part of this commercial corridor, the plan recognizes that there is a mix of commercial, office, and residential uses, and as such, recommended RPI designation in order to discouraging intensification of commercial and retail uses, and that it has identified Rogero Road corridor as most appropriate for office and residential uses. So the proposed zoning district 2RO residential office would still only allow for those residential and office type uses. It does not include commercial and retail type uses. The proposed rezoning would be consistent and compatible with the surrounding development pattern. Existing land use is RPI, and we find that the rezoning meets the criteria as evaluated in the staff report, so we forward a recommendation of approval. Application was heard by Planning Commission on January 8th, where there were no speakers in opposition and little discussion, and they voted unanimously for approval.
All right. We have one speaker, Ms. Ruth Velasquez, in support.
Yes. Good afternoon. My name is Ruth Velasquez. My address is on file. We just, like the young lady stated, we just want to take the commercial use out of the property. I was told in the last meeting hearing to explain, there's been a lady complaining. She called me and asking why we were doing this. I simply told her what I'm stating today, that we just want to take out the commercial use of the property, and she didn't believe me, so I just finally said that there was nothing else to say, and she threatened me to communicate with all you guys, and apparently I think she did. But that's it. That's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Okay. Thank you. And with that, we'll go ahead and we don't have any other speaker cards, so we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to committee. Motion and a second on the bill. No discussion. Let's open the ballot, record the vote.
Six yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've approved 2025-862.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 7, 2025-885. Let's open the public hearing and get a staff report.
Thank you. Ordinance 2025-885 is for a small-scale land use amendment to change 3.33 acres of business park BP and 0.31 of an acre of MDR, medium density residential, to light industrial. So this is a total of 3.64 acres. The subject site is located on the west side of Tresca Road, approximately a third of a mile north of Atlantic Boulevard, and west of the I-295 Beltway. There is CSV land, conservation land, and Jones Creek that run along the western property line, and they serve as a buffer to the residential uses that are further west of the site. The proposed change to LI is compatible with the stretch of industrial uses along Tresca Road. The proposed amendment would allow for infill development of a vacant and underutilized parcel that has access to full urban services. For these reasons and those in the staff report, the Planning Department recommends approval. The Planning Commission heard this item at their January 22nd meeting, and they voted unanimously to recommend approval with no speakers and minimal discussion. Thank you.
All right. With that, we will close the public hearing and bring it back to committee. Motion and a second on the bill. Oh, sorry. Let's go to the applicant. Let's open the public hearing. Go to the applicant. There's a questions only checked here. Go ahead.
Being very brief, Susan covered it, but a picture's worth 1,000 words. The entirety of this area of Tresca is industrial. There is the conservation buffer on the western boundary that will prohibit any extension into that residential area. With that, I will stand by for questions.
Okay, we have no one in the queue, no other speaker cards. Let's close the public hearing and bring it back to committee again. Motion to second on the bill. No one in the queue. Open the ballot, record your vote.
Six yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've approved 2025-885. Item number 8, 2025-886. Council members, please declare any ex parte communication you have at this time. I'll go first. I met with the applicant on February 2nd at 1:30 in my office to discuss site plan and community involvement. Paperwork's filed with Legislative Services. Councilmember White, you're recognized.
Declare ex parte. I met with Ms. Trimmer a couple of days ago, and everything's been filed. Thank you.
All right. Councilmember Freeman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I met with Ms. Trimmer as well, and on all of the items on the agenda, and they have been filed with Legislative Services. Thank you.
All right.
That she's the applicant.
Oh. We'll do them one at a time. It's fine. All right. Let's open the public hearing and get a staff report.
Thank you. This is the companion conventional rezoning ordinance 2025-829, which is seeking to rezone approximately 4.28 acres from a PUD and RMDD to conservation and industrial light. The rezoning is being requested to permit industrial uses consistent with the development pattern existing along Tresca Road. The current PUD, which was approved in 2007, currently allows for business park type uses and has a conservation buffer along the western property boundary in order to protect neighboring residential. The conventional rezoning will continue to maintain that conservation buffer by rezoning this portion from PUD to CSV. Staff has reviewed the request and finds that the proposed development and uses are consistent with the comp plan and the land use designated of light industrial and conservation. Development extending from Atlantic Boulevard consists of heavy commercial zoning and transitions to industrial. So the planning department finds that the requested rezoning to CSV and IL will be consistent and compatible to the surrounding area, so therefore we forward a recommendation of approval. Application was heard by Planning Commission on January 22nd, where there were no speakers in opposition, little discussion, and they voted unanimously for approval.
All right, one speaker card, Cindy Trimmer.
Cindy Trimmer, 1 Independent Drive, Suite 1200. On behalf of the applicant, I'm here for questions only.
All right, seeing none, let's close the public hearing and bring it back to committee.
Move the bill.
Motion and second on the bill. No discussion. Open the ballot, record your vote.
Six yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've approved 2025-886. Item number 9, 2025-887. No, let's open the public hearing. No speaker cards. Close the public hearing. Bring it back to committee. We have a motion and second on the withdrawal. No discussion. Open the ballot, record your vote.
Six yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've withdrawn 2025-887. The next bills are being deferred with a public hearing next cycle on 2/18/26. Bills number 2026-006, 007, 008, 009, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 are all deferred with public hearing on 2/18/26. That brings us to item number 22 on the agenda. Bill number 2026-0018. Council members, please declare any ex parte communication you have at this time. I think we have some. All right. See no one in the queue except me. So we do have ex parte from Mr. Lauren Chansey on January 20th. He sent us an email, asked if we had any questions, and this paperwork will be filed with Legislative Services. With that, let's go ahead and open the public hearing. Get a staff report.
Thank you. 2026-18 seeks a zoning exception to permit the retail sale and service of all alcohol for on-premise consumption in conjunction with the restaurant in the CRO zoning district. The proposed restaurant is New Ginger Bistro, and the location is 1435 Naldo Avenue. The property is located west of Hendricks Avenue and south of the Florida East Coast Railway and is shared with Brine, an oyster and champagne restaurant. Nearby uses include La Nopalera, Panera Bread, Mayday Ice Cream, Ardwolf Brewery, V's Pizza, and Sidecar. Staff finds proposed use of a restaurant with full alcohol to be compatible with the surrounding area and consistent with the RPI land use category and forwards the recommendation of approval. There is a companion waiver of liquor distance that went to Planning Commission on January 8th and was approved, and there's a companion variance that will be heard as the next ordinance.
All right. One speaker card, Mr. Lauren Chansey.
Lawrence Chancellor, 13039 St. John's Bluff Road, North Jacksonville, Florida, 3228. Yes, we did go to the waiver liquor distance before we came to the board here. I accept the staff report for approval here. It is in a quite used zone there with all different restaurants and everything, so I just hope the board will see the way to approve this so we can move on.
All right. We have no other speaker cards, so we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to committee. Look for a motion on the amendment. All right, we have a motion second on the amendment. All in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The amendment carries. All right, we have a motion second on the bill as amended. No one in the queue. I'll add my 2 cents. This is an easy one. It's right near all these other restaurants. No problems whatsoever. So with that, let's open the ballot. Record your vote.
Six yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've approved 2026-18. Item number 23, 2026-19. Council members, please declare any ex parte communication you have at this time. I'll go first. We have an email from Mr. Lawrence Yancey again on January 20th, 4:34, asking if we had any questions. We said no, but this paperwork will be filed with Legislative Services. No other speakers. Let's open the public hearing and get a staff report.
2026-19 seeks a variance to increase the seating for a restaurant in the CRO zoning district from 60 seats to 96 seats. This is the companion variance to 2026-18, and the proposed restaurant is New Ginger Bistro. Per section 656.311 of the zoning code, restaurants including all alcohol for on-premise consumption are permissible by exception in the CRO zoning district, with the limitation that seating shall not exceed a capacity of 60 seats. The subject property is located within a commercial corridor within the San Marco neighborhood. The establishment of this restaurant at this location would supplement the current existing character of the area. Staff finds proposed use of a restaurant with full alcohol to be compatible with the surrounding area and consistent with the RPI land use category, and forwards a recommendation of approval.
All right, we have one speaker card, Mr. Lawrence Yancey.
Yes, my address is on the record. The reason for the variance is we had to meet requirements for AT&T, the state of Florida, to increase the seating from 66 to 96 to meet those requirements.
All right. We have no other speaker cards, so let's close the public hearing and bring it back to committee. Motion and second on the bill. Open the ballot, record your vote.
Six yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've approved 2026-19. Item number 24, 2026-20. Council members, please declare any ex parte communication you have at this time. Yes, sir. Thank you. All right. Seeing none, let's open the public hearing and get a staff report.
Thank you. 2026-20 seeks a sign waiver to reduce the required setback of a sign from 10 feet to 0 feet. This is going to be for an existing pole sign. The 0.53 acre site was developed in 1965 and features an aluminum plus gas station and convenience store. The site is located at the northeast corner of Main Street North and Bayston Road. The property is zoned CCG1. The owner intends to continue the property as a gas station and is seeking this waiver to bring the existing pole sign into compliance. The effect of the sign waiver will be compatible with the existing contiguous zoning and general character of the area. The code requires commercial properties to be connected through driveway access, and the existing sign will allow this access to be retained. For these reasons and those in the staff report, we forward a recommendation of approval.
All right. We have one speaker card, Trish Devery.
Good evening, Trish Devery. Address is 750 East International Boulevard, DeLand, Florida. There's nowhere really else to put this sign for the gas station. We're taking it from a Texaco to a BP, and in order to do that, we've got to pull some permits. So upon that, we find that we're not meeting the setback. The moving the sign, which is something that we would certainly do if there was anywhere else to really put it that wouldn't interfere with any more traffic. As you guys know, the road is being widened. And that way it won't, if we leave it where it's at, it won't interfere with any of the parking for the gas station itself. Thank you.
All right. We have no other speaker cards. So let's close the public hearing and bring it back to committee. Motion and second on the bill. No discussion. Open the ballot. Record your vote. Nice.
6 yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've approved 2026-20. Item number 25, 2026-21. Council members, please declare any ex parte communication you have at this time. Councilmember White, you're recognized.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I want to declare ex parte. I spoke to Mr. DeBenal, had some questions about this bill the other day, and that will be filed.
All right. Councilmember Freeman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I declare ex parte. I spoke with the applicant, Steve DiBenal, as well, and he shared the details. It was on the call of the project. Thank you.
All right, Councilman Gaffney, you're recognized.
Thank you to the chair. I also rise to declare ex parte. I also spoke with Mr. Deependown last week. I'll make sure everything get filed with legislative services.
All right, and I have ex parte to declare. I had ex parte with Mr. Deebnow on January 21st, 9 o'clock. Mr. Diamond's feeling left out, but it's an outrage. I know.
Mr. Chairman,
well, it's okay. We're just in ex parte. Well, let's make sure we do it during public hearing so we get it on the record. All right. Let's open the public hearing now and get a staff report.
Thank you. This is application for a waiver of a minimum required setback for ordinance 2026-0021 for a property that's located along Garden Street and zoned agriculture. The application is seeking to reduce the minimum setback for a Track 2 camouflage wireless communication tower. So this is between the tower and a residential property line. So it's reducing that distance from 150 feet to 137 along the western property boundary, and then also looking to reduce from 150 feet to 143 feet along the south property line. The applicant seeks to place a 150-foot camouflage, this would be a pine tree wireless tower, on the southern portion of the property that's located at 9238 Garden Street, which will require a zoning, a cell tower application, which will be scheduled and heard by the Planning Commission following the outcome of this waiver. The subject site is a 5.1 acre agricultural lot that is currently developed with a single-family dwelling. Surrounding the proposed tower site are large single-family agricultural properties to the south and west, and RLD 90 zone subdivision to the east. The proposed tower will meet the minimum setback requirement adjacent to the subdivision, which is on the east side. But in order to meet this setback, the tower will be located within the setback requirements along the western and southern property boundary. The southern property is developed with a retention pond, and the closest structure along the western boundary is an accessory structure. It looks to be like a barn, with the dwelling being located farther than the 150-foot distance requirement. The proposed tower is also designed and certified that if it were to break, the maximum fall radius would only be 100 feet. This ensures that the proposed setbacks will still be substantial in the event of a fall. So staff has reviewed the request and finds that the application does meet the standards and criteria in order to recommend approval of the request. The proposed waivers are the minimum necessary to address the safety needs of the surrounding area. We find the design to be compatible with the surrounding area with the camouflage pine tree. So because of these reasons and those in the staff report, we forward a recommendation of approval.
All right. Thank you. We have one speaker card. Steve Deebenow.
Steve Deebenow, 1 Independent Drive, Suite 1200, here on behalf of the applicant, Next Tower. In 2002, Suzanne Jenkins and Councilwoman Self and Councilwoman Copeland came up with this scheme to deal with cell towers. And then you guys recently changed it in 2016 and again here just in the last year. So I've prepared about a 15-minute PowerPoint for Councilman Diamond and Councilman Johnson. Oh, you were good? You're okay? Okay, well then I'll forego the PowerPoint and I'll answer any questions that you may have.
Got it. Yeah. All right. Well, we appreciate that. And yes, moving the tower review applications to LUZ was part of our greater effort to, consolidate efficiency in the city government. So that is correct. So with that, we will close the public hearing and bring back to committee. Motion and second on the bill. With that, we have no one in the queue. Open the ballot. Record your vote. That was one more.
6 yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've approved 2026-21. Item number 26, 2026-22 is deferred. Item number 27, 2026-23 is deferred. Item number 28, 2026-24 is deferred. Last action item, item number 29, 2026-25. Council members, please declare any ex parte communication you have at this time. Seeing none, let's open the public hearing and get a staff report.
Thank you. 2026-25 seeks a zoning exception to permit the retail sale and service of beer and wine for on-premise consumption. The subject property is a 0.1 acre lot located between Willow Branch Avenue, Roosevelt Boulevard, and College Street. The request is being sought to continue the long-established use of the property as a neighborhood bar. The location has previously operated as Nighthawks, a music venue that served alcohol. The property has since been vacant, and the applicant seeks to reinvest and reopen a similar establishment. The property is located in the Riverside Avondale Historic District and zoning overlay. The Historic Preservation Section has reviewed the application and determined that the existing building has little historic significance and does not warrant consideration for listing on the National Register of Historic Places. Given the historic use of the property and existing land use of CGC, staff forwards a recommendation of approval.
All right, we have one speaker card, Mr. Matthew Crystal. Oh, you have for questions only? All right. Let's see, if we have no other speaker cards, so let's close the public hearing and bring it back to committee. All right, we have a motion and a second on the bill. No speakers in the queue. Let's open the ballot, record your vote.
Six yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've approved 2026-25. Item number 30, 2026-26 is deferred. The following other bills, 2026, 27, 28, and 29 are all deferred. And the following bills are on second reading. 2026, 58, 59, 60, and 61 are all second reading. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we did it. We did it. This meeting is adjourned.